Hi, I'm Madison. I'm 32, a marketing executive, and what I'm about to share still breaks my heart every time I think about it. Life has a way of testing us, doesn't it? 6 years ago, I had everything: a loving husband, Daniel, our beautiful daughter, Megan, and what I thought was a supportive extended family. Now, I sit in my home office, surrounded by reminders of a life that feels like a distant dream. You need to get out more, honey. Nayeli's been trying to drag you to that new wine bar forever, Daniel said during one of our friendly catch-ups. That's what we are now, civil, even caring. We didn't end because we stopped loving each other. We ended because sharing the same space where Megan's laughter used to echo became unbearable. She was only 5 when cancer took her. My best friend and co-worker, Natalie, always checks in. I know you've got that big pitch tomorrow, but can we meet for coffee? I could use a friend right now. She's been my rock since day one. Every night before bed, I open Megan's memory box. It's my most precious possession. Inside are treasures: the tiny hospital bracelet from her leukemia diagnosis, her favorite teddy bear, Mr. Snuggles, who stayed by her side through every treatment, and her drawings from good days. "Mommy, this is us in space," she'd say, pointing to colorful scribbles of us as astronauts. I kept every single one. "You're dwelling too much in the past, Madison. It's not healthy," my mother-in-law, Olivia, often reminds me. She's been challenging from day one. When Daniel first introduced me, she said, "A marketing executive, dear." I hoped Daniel would marry someone more established. I've learned to keep things civil for Megan's memory. The last letter I wrote to Megan is in that box. I wrote it the night before. Well, some memories are still too raw. It simply says, "My brave little astronaut, Mommy loves you to the moon and back." Olivia means well, or so Daniel's sister, Lisa, insists. She just shows it differently, Lisa said at last month's family dinner. That's one way to put it. Olivia never misses an opportunity for subtle digs about my background or my grieving process. The memory box sits on my bedside table. Some nights, I just hold Mr. Snuggles, remembering how Megan would insist. "He needs a goodnight kiss too, Mommy. He's scared of the dark." That box holds 6 years of memories: first shoes, birthday cards, lunchbox notes from Daniel and me. "Hey, we're still family," Daniel reminded me last week. "No matter what Mom says." He understands why I keep everything, every drawing, every photo, every tiny reminder of Megan. It's not about dwelling in the past. It's about keeping her memory alive. But I never imagined how quickly everything would change. How one person's cruelty could destroy the fragile peace I'd managed to build. Daniel is engaged. Caroline is just perfect, from the Anderson family, Olivia announced at Sunday dinner, her voice dripping with satisfaction. My stomach twisted, but I managed to smile. Caroline looked uncomfortable but polite. "We should clear out some of the old things, don't you think? Make room for new memories," Olivia added, her eyes fixed on me. "It's been 2 years, Madison. Time to move forward." Lisa, bless her, spoke up. "Mom, that's enough. Everyone grieves differently. Grieving is one thing, but this shrine you're keeping, it's not healthy. Caroline will be part of the family now. She doesn't need constant reminders of, My daughter's memory isn't something to be packed away, Olivia," I said, my hands trembling under the table. The tension only grew. Every family gathering became an obstacle course of subtle jabs and well-meaning suggestions. "Have you considered therapy, dear? All these mementos, it's becoming concerning." Then came the Tuesday I'll never forget. Walking into my house after work, something felt off. The spare key, the one I'd given them for emergencies, sat on the kitchen counter. "Natalie, something's wrong," I said, my voice shaking as I raced upstairs. "Someone's been in my house." When I reached Megan's memory box, my heart stopped. Where her carefully preserved treasures had been, there was destruction. Megan's drawings were shredded. Her favorite teddy bear, Mr. Snuggles, was torn apart, stuffing strewn across the floor. Her letters, photos, her tiny hospital bracelet ruined beyond repair. Then I heard the front door. "Madison," I let myself in. "We need to talk about all this clutter," Olivia announced, standing in the doorway with a spare key in hand, looking disgustingly pleased with herself. "It had to be done, for everyone's sake." You did this? How could you?" My voice didn't even sound like my own. "Caroline shouldn't have to compete with ghosts. Daniel needs to move on. You need to move on. I'm doing you all a favor. Those were my memories of my daughter. I was screaming now, tears streaming down my face. Oh, don't be so dramatic. They were just things, unhealthy attachments, really. Caroline deserves a fresh start with Daniel, without all this baggage. Just then, Lisa burst through the door. I called her right after Natalie. Her face went white as she saw the destruction. Mom, what have you done? Lisa whispered, horror lacing her voice. What needed to be done? Someone had to take charge of this situation. Olivia replied coldly, her tone matter of fact. Caroline's family has standards. We can't have all this emotional mess. I collapsed next to the shredded memory box, clutching what remained of Mr. Snuggles. 6 years of precious memories, violated by a woman who thought she had the right to erase my daughter. Get out. My voice was quiet but firm. Get out of my house. Now. Olivia sniffed, unbothered. You'll thank me later. This is for the best. Natalie crouched next to me, snapping photos of the destruction. We're documenting all of this, honey. Every single piece. Lisa's voice shook as she made the call. Daniel, you need to come over. Now. When Daniel arrived and saw the destruction, his face cycled through shock, anger, and disbelief. Oh my God, Megan's things, he whispered. Madison, I'm so sorry. Your mother used the emergency key, Lisa said quietly. She destroyed everything. She's gone too far this time. Daniel's hands trembled as he knelt beside the wreckage. These were our memories of our daughter. Lisa pulled us aside while Natalie continued photographing. Her voice was low but urgent. There's something else you both need to hear. She held up her phone. I've been recording Mom's conversations for months. I knew something wasn't right. The first recording played Olivia's voice, cold and calculating. Once Daniel marries Caroline, we'll have access to the Anderson fortune. The charity books won't matter then. What charity books? I asked. The Children's Cancer Foundation she chairs, Lisa explained. I found discrepancies. Large ones. She's been siphoning money for years. Daniel sank into a chair, his face pale. The foundation Megan was treated through. Lisa nodded grimly. That's not all. Listen to this. The next recording chilled me to my core. Caroline's family money will solve everything. Just need to get rid of all traces of that dead kid first. Madison's been holding on to Daniel with that memory box. I think I'm going to be sick, Daniel muttered, burying his face in his hands. Just then, Caroline walked in, looking for Daniel. Her face went pale at the sight of the destroyed memory box, then even paler as the recordings continued to play. Is that Olivia? Talking about using my family's money? Caroline asked, her voice shaking. Caroline, I can explain, Daniel began. No need. Caroline slipped off her engagement ring and placed it on the table. I've seen enough. My family doesn't associate with people who destroy children's memories or embezzle from cancer charities. She turned and walked out without another word. After Caroline left, Lisa shared more evidence. Bank statements, emails, records of donations that never made it to the foundation. She's been doing this for years, Lisa explained. Using her position as chair to funnel money into personal accounts. The memory box was just her latest attempt to control everything. The foundation board needs to know, I said firmly. I've already started gathering everything they'll need. Natalie chimed in, showing us files she'd been compiling on her laptop. Daniel looked broken. My own mother, stealing from the same charity that helped during Megan's treatment. She's getting sloppy, Lisa added. The engagement to Caroline made her cocky. She started talking too much, keeping fewer records. We spent hours going through Lisa's files. Each piece of evidence revealed more of Olivia's manipulation. How she'd forced out board members who asked too many questions. How she'd redirected grieving families' donations. You know what this means, Natalie said, looking up from her laptop. When this gets out, she loses everything. Lisa finished. Her reputation, her social standing, probably her freedom. Good, Daniel said firmly. After what she did to Megan's memories and to all those families. I clutched what remained of Megan's favorite drawing. Olivia thought destroying these would erase Megan, make everyone forget. Instead, it had exposed everything. She thought she was erasing Megan, Lisa said softly. But all she did was expose her own crimes. Natalie squeezed my hand, her phone ready. Are we making the calls? I nodded. Let's begin. The unraveling started the next morning. The news broke. Breaking news. Local Children's Cancer Foundation chair under investigation for embezzlement. Olivia's carefully crafted world crumbled. Did you see her face at the emergency board meeting? Lisa whispered to me later, when they showed her the evidence. The boardroom had been packed. Olivia stood there, her designer outfit perfectly pressed, trying to maintain control. These accusations are ridiculous, she snapped. I've given everything to this foundation, including $500,000 of missing funds. A board member countered, sliding documents across the table. Then Michael stood up. After 40 years of enabling her, he finally found his voice. I've already contacted my lawyer, Olivia. I won't be dragged down with you. Michael, sit down, she hissed, but he walked out, leaving divorce papers on the table. The scandal exploded. Every news channel covered it. Prominent socialite accused of stealing from Children's Cancer Foundation. Daniel confronted her outside the courthouse. How could you steal from sick children? From the same foundation that helped your own granddaughter? I was protecting our family's reputation, she screamed, mascara streaking her face. Everything I did was for this family. No, Mom, Lisa said, her voice steady. Everything you did was for yourself. We're done. Her social invitations stopped. Her country club membership was revoked. Her carefully curated circle of friends vanished overnight. Meanwhile, in Megan's old room, we started something new. Look what I found in my attic, Lisa said, pulling out a box. Inside was Megan's Halloween costume from when she was 4. I saved it. Together, we created a new memory box. We restored what we could: photos, videos, and little treasures Lisa had kept. Remember when she insisted on wearing her astronaut costume to Thanksgiving? Daniel laughed, adding a photograph. 6 months later, we stood in the garden of the Children's Hospital beneath a sign that read, Megan Stars Foundation, supporting families fighting childhood cancer. In honor of Megan and every child fighting cancer, we promise complete transparency and unwavering support for families in need. The garden was beautiful, filled with twinkling lights and mechanical butterflies Megan would have loved. Children pressed buttons, making the butterflies dance. Mom would have loved this, Lisa said, squeezing my hand. From across the street, I saw her. Olivia stood alone, watching the celebration through the fence. Her designer clothes had been replaced with something plain. Her empire was gone. She raised her hand, trying to wave. Daniel saw her too. Without a word, we turned away, focusing instead on a little girl in a wheelchair pointing excitedly at a butterfly. Look, Mommy, it's dancing, the child squealed. I smiled, touching the locket I wore, the one photo of Megan I had managed to save. Yes, sweetheart, just like the stars. The foundation thrived. My career soared. Most importantly, Megan's memory lived on, not in a box that could be destroyed, but in the laughter of children finding joy in their hardest battles. As for Olivia, last I heard, she spends her days alone in a small apartment, watching through windows as life goes on without her. Her calls go unanswered. She's uninvited to family events, a fitting punishment for someone who tried to erase a child's memory.